Hey yo, what's good? It's your boy Mixtape Moth, and today I'm gonna give y'all my thoughts on this upcoming versus battle between 3 6 Mafia and Bone Thugs and Harmony. Let's get to it. So this battle is finally going to arrive. Over a year ago, it was supposed to take place, but now fortunately it will officially be held Thursday, December 2nd. The South will get some recognition again, and this will be the first time that the Midwest will be represented. And this is a big deal, especially given that the last three versus battles have all featured New York rappers. So these two impactful and iconic groups will face off in Los Angeles that night. Now, Los Angeles seems like a pretty neutral location because if it would be held somewhere in the Midwest or the South, then it wouldn't exactly be fair. But now I wanted to go over some similarities that both groups share. For starters, they both essentially started at the same time in the early 90s. Both groups started out making exceptionally dark music in the early part of their careers. There was a strong horrorcore presence and occult-like imagery tied to their respective material and overall aesthetics. Both groups beefed with each other for a period of time. Now, fortunately, things didn't escalate to the level of the Gucci and Jeezy beef, but tensions were high between the two nonetheless. Both were extremely influential groups that put their respective cities on the map. So before Bone, we didn't know anything about rappers coming out of Cleveland. Now, as far as Memphis goes, most people outside the city were aware of 8-Ball and MJG prior to 3 6 Mafia. But when talking about influence, it is here where I think the differences between the two become a little more apparent. While Bone Thugs' style of harmonizing and triplet flows were certainly next level for the time and very impactful, I feel that 3 6 Mafia had a deeper and more influential role in shaping the culture as a whole. 3 6 Mafia can be credited for paving the way for the crunk movement and the early trap sounds in the South, and today they remain one of the most sampled hip-hop groups of all time. You can take the majority of commercial artists today and you will likely find traces or elements of 3 6 Mafia or early Memphis rap to their sound. A lot of the dark and trippy vibes associated with trap today were birthed by 3 6 Mafia during the mid-90s. Still, we can't ignore the role that Houston or Atlanta hip-hop played in that process either, but let's be clear, 3 6 Mafia and Memphis hip-hop shaped much of the Southern sound, no doubt about it. Now, despite Bone Thugs' accolades and achievements, which were immense, they just aren't referenced nearly as much today or sampled nearly as heavily as 3 6 Mafia. However, let's be clear, Bone Thugs does have more mainstream acceptance and more range as far as commercial hits are concerned. I mean, what does 3 6 Mafia have to go against a Grammy Award winning song like Crossroads? So there are going to be some Bone songs that are hard to beat, especially tracks like Notorious Thugs with Biggie, First of the Month, Thuggish Ruggish Bone, For the Love of Money, Days of Our Lives, and Thug Love with Tupac. Another reality is that members of Bone are also technically better lyricists than members of 3 6 Mafia as a whole, with the exception of, I'd say, Project Pat. That being said, 3 6 does have an equal amount of smash hits and anthems that will be hard to counter. I mean, what does Bone Thugs have to go up against anthems like Sippin' on Some Scissor, Stay Fly, Riding Spinners, Tear the Club Up, and Where Them Dollars At? So on paper, or if we were to go song for song on streaming services, both groups have way more than enough hits to make this a very competitive versus. But we all know that is only half of what matters in a versus battle. The other half is performance and stage presence. Like all previous verses, it's been about strategy, the song order, energy, and crowd engagement. Now, personally, I've never seen either of the groups live, so I can't really predict who will do better performance-wise, but I can imagine that each would bring about the right amount of energy and have that stage presence that is required. Both groups had a breakup, but Bone has been reunited a little longer than 3 6 has, so I'd imagine that Bone's onstage chemistry might be a little better. A few years back, if you would have asked me who I had winning this, I would have said Bone. However, after having done a pretty thorough deep dive into 3 6's very extensive catalog over the past year or so, I've gained a newfound appreciation for 3 6's albums as a whole. And I realized there was some incredible shit that I missed. And 3 6's solo projects are better than Bone's solo, in my opinion. Like, I'm going to play Project Pat's albums way more than I am Busy's or Crazy's. Now, that's not to say that Bone doesn't have some strong solo projects out there, but I just prefer some of 3 6's. While I might give the slight edge to Bone, I see this as being extremely close. Just like the KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane battle, I don't see either side getting washed, and if you feel that either is going to get washed, then you obviously haven't paid careful attention to prior versus battles, and you obviously aren't familiar enough with either group's catalog. But yeah, this is gonna be huge for the culture, like a lot of the verses have been, and I can't wait. Let me know who you have winning and why. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and please subscribe. As always, is peace and blessings. My thoughts on this upcoming versus battle 1.